Math Minute 58, number 1 says use plus or minus to complete. And this is an order of operations problem because we have parentheses in there too. So let's try the scenario of a plus and a minus first. Well, I would have to do what's inside the parentheses first. So 3 plus 6 would be 9. And then if I did 9 minus 12, that would be negative 3, so that wouldn't work. So now let's try subtraction in there and then addition in there. So 3 minus 6 would be negative 3 plus 12. And if I did that in the calculator, negative 3 plus 12 would be positive 9. So that would work to have the subtraction sign there and the addition sign there. Number 2 is negative third to the power of 3. So I would rewrite that as negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. And because I have 3 negatives here, which is an odd number of negatives, the rule is when you multiply an odd number of negatives, the answer is going to be negative. And then I just multiply the 3's. So 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So this answer would be negative 27. Number 3, if all the angles of a triangle total 180 degrees, then angle X in this triangle is. So I know that my total has to be 180. So if I'm going to get that missing number, I'm just going to subtract the other 2 angles. And whatever's left over is going to be that third angle. 180 minus 60 would be 120. 120 minus 40 would be 80. So that missing angle is going to be 80 degrees. Martin folds a sheet of paper in half, then in half again, and in half yet again. When he unfolds it, the paper is divided into how many sections? Okay, so he starts out with a full sheet, and then he folds it in half. So we're going to divide by 2, which would give me 1/2. And then he takes that and he divides that by 2. Remember, when we divide fractions, we change this to multiplication, and then we flip this one. So this would have been 2 over 1, so we're going to flip it to 1 over 2. And then I multiply straight across. And I would get 1 over 4. And then I take that and we're going to fold it in half yet again. So we're going to divide that by 2. And so I would do 1/4. I would change that to multiplication. This would have been 2 over 1, so I'm going to flip it to 1 over 2. 1 over 8. And this 8 represents how many sections of that paper I would have now. So we would have 8 sections if we did that. The letter H has parallel lines, perpendicular lines, or both. Well, this line here and this line here, those are going to go on forever and never touch each other, so those are parallel. But then I also have this line here that forms a 90-degree angle with the vertical line, so we call that perpendicular. So this letter has both parallel and perpendicular lines. Number 6, small a is to big A. That's looks like it's in bold, so it's darker print. as this square is to, well, it's going to be a bigger square and it needs to have the bold or darker lines, which in this case would be B. So it would be this square, and then I would have kind of that shaded part on the outside. So small a is to big A with darker print as small square is to bigger square with dark print. So that's going to be B. 7. If point A, one of the vertices of a pentagon, is connected to each other vertex of the pentagon, how many triangles would be formed? So basically what they're telling me to do is connect A to that one, connect A to that one. And now how many triangles do I have? Well, I have one here, I have one there, and I have one there. So 3 triangles. For problems 8 through 10, evaluate if A equals 4, B equals -5, C equals 2. Remember, evaluate just means to solve. So the opposite of B, well, it tells me that B is -5, so I'm going to take the opposite of -5. And the opposite of -5 would be +5. Number 9 is going to be A times B divided by C. So up here it told me that A is 4 times B, which is -5. We're going to divide that by 2. 4 times -5 is -20 divided by 2. -20 divided by 2 would be -10. And again, remember, you can always check these on a calculator. Number 10, I have A plus B times C. So I'm going to have 4 plus -5 times 2. I got to do inside the parentheses first. So -5 times 2 would be -10. So 4 plus -10. And 4 plus -10 would be -6. And that concludes Math Minute 38.